Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of the Herd. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to check out the Herdline news. I've only done this like once, I think, if that, and only like a specific clip of it to discuss it. But I want to let this clip run, and then we'll break it down from there.
The best pure arm in the draft. Sticking with the NFL, Justin Herbert is entering his first season with new head coach Jim Harbaugh and OC Greg Roman. Harbaugh's teams have always been known for their physicality, and new Chargers tight end Hayden Hurst talked about his expectation for Herbert in this offense.
He's deadly. I mean, you give him a run game, and he's going to be able to throw it all over the place. I think that's the one thing, you know, outside looking in, that's the one thing he hasn't had is just a consistent run game. I mean, man, we all see what he can do through the air. I mean, you pair up a run game with that, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for this place.
Colin, here's what's interesting, too, is Greg Roman coached Lamar Jackson pretty well in Baltimore, but the last season wasn't great 2 years ago. They ended up going with Todd Monken. Justin Herbert is one of the most talented players in the NFL. This offense could be deadly, but could it take some time?
I mean, they don't have a center. They need two more receivers. They need to get in. They got a back. They need another back. So the elements are in place. If they hit on about four, if you told me they hit on two receivers, a center, a defensive tackle, and a corner, and by the way, they're going to try to accumulate 10 to 11, 12 picks. Then I would say they're going to win a lot of games. They'll be a 9-10 win team next year. But my guess is generally. I mean, Houston's kind of the exception. It generally takes in a slight rebuild. It's not a rebuild; it's a reboot. Slight. They're going to have to hit on draft picks. The good news is Harbaugh should ace the draft. I mean, 90% of the guys they'll draft in the first 3 rounds, he recruited, or played against, or played for him. So they just have to hit. They have 2 4s. I think they want to move down and get 2 1s, 2 2s. If they can, they'll be good this year because they'll solve. It's a great year for some of the things they need.
I totally agree with you, and here's why. I had another GM tell me last night, look who their GM is now, Joe Ortiz from Baltimore. What does Baltimore do better than anyone and more than anyone? They trade back. So to your point, the Chargers can accumulate a lot of picks and probably hit pretty early and be competitive this year. Quickly, what's a good season for the Chargers? Playoffs, 8 wins?
10 is a good season. I think 11's realistic.
Okay, that'd be really good.
That'd be amazing.
Now to the other NFL team right here in Los Angeles. Cooper Kupp's early season hamstring injury helped pave the way for Puka Nacua to have a historic rookie season. On a recent podcast, Nacua said that the duo, him and Kupp, have been working out together this offseason and that Kupp is, quote, on a revenge tour. Is this the best wide receiver 1-2 punch in the NFL?
No, but it's really close. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I'd take. It's good. And again, would Puka be this good without McVay and Stafford? Like, he's good, but I think a lot of this is something I've talked about with a friend of mine, John Middlecoff, former NFL scout. I've talked about this. If you're a general manager and you have an offensive coach, an Andy Reid, a Shanahan, you can't make everything work. I mean, John Lynch has missed on a couple of third-round running backs. Not everything works. But for job preservation, basically every running back they have drafted kind of feels like McVay gets the most out of them. He's done a great job, McVay has done, with offensive linemen, tight ends, quarterback play, running backs. Wide receivers been a little hit and miss, but very few busts since he's been there. Allen Robinson didn't work at all. But, my take is with the Rams, just give McVay a lot of draft picks. And give him he kind of figures stuff out. And, Shanahan's career, he elevates every quarterback. I would draft a quarterback almost every year if I ran the 49ers. I would draft a quarterback. They all work with Kyle. Running backs, tight ends, almost all work with McVay. I mean, Williams, the kid from Notre Dame, I think was a
fourth, fifth round
guy. And there were times last year, you're like, is he the second, third best running back in the league? I mean, if there's 4 running backs a team in a roster, and there's 120 running backs active in the NFL, and he's the third best, and he was a 4th rounder, some of that's just McVay.
Yeah, quick story on Puka Nacua. So Trent McDuffie, the dominant young corner in Kansas City, already a superstar, told me that when Nacua was at Washington with him, this is 3 years ago during his pro day, he said, I'm telling you, there's a kid at BYU, not that fast, not that big. He's going to be a big-time NFL wide receiver. That was Trent McDuffie at his pro day telling me about Puka Nacua, because I said, Trent, you're going to be a star in the NFL. Everyone knows it. Who's the best receiver you've seen? And he said, there's this kid, Nacua, and he couldn't stop talking about him, and now we saw it. So Puka Nacua is just getting started.
Yeah.
Finally, Colin, this is a fun one. Mike Tyson.
This is the Herdline News.
All right. Well, we will not know what the fun one is. I think he was gonna say something about Mike Tyson. Who cares? Yeah. I mean, listen. I think Justin Herbert and Harbaugh are poised to be elite, legit. They will have their reign. I really, truly, wholeheartedly believe that. Whether that's going to officially happen next season, this coming season, it's a steep hill to climb. So you can't just jump into this. You just can't expect greatness right off the bat, because they not only have to draft all these players, rebuild this culture, instill the offense, just the mentality, just everything. And so it's going to take a minute or two. To me, I look at this on more of like a 3-year plan. But if they are able to truly nail the draft, and that's the whole thesis is that Harbaugh, since he's coming from college, he's recruited these guys, he's played with them, played against them, that he knows these guys intimately, that for the next few years, he should be great at drafting players. And if that plays out, then I think they can absolutely take off very quickly. I think it's more likely to follow potentially like the trajectory of maybe the Detroit Lions, where they get Dan Campbell, things are a little rough, then they're able to like kind of pick up speed near the end of the season, and nothing much happens really, right? They don't make the playoffs. And then the following season, we are here. We are real. And they made it to the NFC Championship game and could have gotten to the Super Bowl without a doubt. I feel like that's an actual potential for the Chargers. But it's possible that they are able to hit the ground running right away, like CJ Stroud and the Texans. I'm torn between either of those options. I don't see them just having like a bad season, right? Like when you watch the Detroit Lions that first season, when they started finally kind of turning the corner, you felt like, okay, they're on to something here. They're building something here. Beating the Packers and at the final game of the season, like you felt it. And then it was kind of perfect for them because then they opened the season against the reigning champions, the Chiefs, and then beat them. And that was like their immediate, like, yeah, that's right. We are real. We are here. And it was almost kind of like a little bit different with CJ Stroud and the Texans, where they kind of got off to like a somewhat weird start, and then they hit the ground running, and then throughout that whole season, for the most part, everybody was like, "Oh my God, CJ Stroud's legit! Wow, the Texans are legit." So the benefit is, and this is where you have Detroit, right? Goff is an established quarterback, and they just needed a few extra pieces and some time, and they were able to do it. Harbaugh is obviously an established head coach. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's coached in so many different environments, just different collegiate environments, which matter. It's not all the same. And now he obviously coached with the 49ers. He's been to a Super Bowl. Like, he knows what he's doing. There is no learning curve for him. So that's a major benefit for him. We know Justin Herbert is elite. Absolutely. So that's now no issue. So it's really just getting the team. It's getting those pieces. I trust Harbaugh will be able to instill whatever he needs to instill, whether it is a true cultural implant, transplant, whatever you want to say, offensive scheming and what he has to do, especially with their new OC now. Like I think there's the potential to be some growing pains, but Justin Herbert is brilliant. And then they're getting these new pieces who are going to learn it from scratch. So I think the Chargers are actually in a pretty good situation. But it really does all come down to the draft. And are they able to nail the draft? And if they do, I think that they could take the Chiefs and win the division. Yep, I said it, and I'm sticking to it. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Please let me know in the comments below. And please don't forget to subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.